what the shared work program is, the benefits of the program, the eligibility, how to apply or renew an existing plan, some of the expansions due to the COVID-19, payment information, and then we're going to go over some resources, and we'll have a question and answer session at the end. So just as a reminder, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. If you have a question, you can just click on it, and we'll try to address any comments or questions as we go. If you have any questions specific to your plan or with any type of secure information, just be aware we are recording and we're not going to be able to answer those questions today. You can contact us privately, either through email, which we'll go over our contact information at the end. All right, so what is the shared work program? So the shared work program is an alternative to a layoff. So it's a voluntary program that's offered here in the state of Connecticut to help businesses when they're facing a downturn. So how it works is, as an employer, you're able to take your eligible employees, reduce their hours weekly, and they receive a portion of their regular unemployment benefits from shared work. So that payment is based on that reduction of work each week that they're facing. So it helps cushion the adverse effects of a downturn in business and helps maintain business continuity. We can go to the next slide. All right, so we just wanted to share some statistics with you in regards to the employer participation since COVID-19. So we took some stats here. These are from March of last year to about October. So normally in a year, we service about 230 shared work employers. Now, within that 5-month period, we actually received 1,247 applications, which included about 25,193 employees that were supported by those plans. And during that period, we provided $113 million to employees, including those federal plus-ups that were provided through the CARES Act. All right, so now some of the benefits of the program. So obviously the first one is that it prevents a total layoff. Your employees are able to be reduced instead of facing that total layoff. One of the benefits of the program that I like to highlight is the percentage of the reduction and the flexibility. So you're able to reduce your employees' hours weekly anywhere from 10 up to 60%. So if you're looking at a 40-hour work week for an employee, you're looking that you can reduce them anywhere from 4 hours up to 24 hours in a week using shared work. Now you don't have to, it can change week to week, so it doesn't have to be the same percentage. You can change that reduction based on your workload. And also, if you have a week where you have enough work for your employees, you just don't have to participate that week. So for me, a lot of the employers like that flexibility about the program. So you're not having to provide additional information or paperwork to us. You just kind of use it as needed, and you can adjust it based on your business needs. There's also a potential cost reduction in regards to payroll, having to rehire, train new employees, etc. And the biggest thing for me is that you get to keep your skilled workforce and you maintain your service quality. And so now we can go over some of the benefits for the employees. So one, while they're on the program, any fringe benefits that were offered prior are to continue while they're on shared work. So that's one less thing that they have to worry about when they're facing a reduction in work or a layoff. So that's one thing. Another thing I like to highlight for the employees as a benefit is if they actually work somewhere else part-time, say, just as an example, say they have a part-time job that they work on the weekends. They do not have to report that income to us. It will not reduce their shared work payment. So they can continue working with you, their main employer, receiving that shared work payment, as well as working part-time elsewhere, as long as it doesn't affect their hours working with you. Now, it also, during the program, your employees are readily available to go back to their full-time hours once that production becomes available, It also is a morale booster for employees. I think they tend to find it that their employer is working with us to keep their jobs, which obviously boosts their morale, and it provides some income security to them during a period of time where obviously there's issues where they're concerned with the reduction of work. All right. So now this slide here is to show you some examples of how shared work compares to a full layoff as well as a regular partial unemployment compensation payment. So in this example, we have John who works 40 hours a week, earns $20 an hour. Under shared work, he's going to be reduced by 20 hours or 50%. So if he was totally laid off 100% through regular unemployment, he would receive $400 weekly. That's gross. Now, if he were to file for regular partial unemployment, John would receive the 20 hours of his regular pay, which is the $400 from his employer. He'd receive a partial regular unemployment payment of $133, which would then total $533 that he would receive for that week with his payment from the 20 hours worked plus the regular unemployment partial payment. Now that's $133 difference from regular to, from regular unemployment 100% to a partial unemployment payment. But when you look at shared work, we're going to pay the employee the 50% of that 400 of the unemployment payment. So he's going to get $200 a week from shared work as a partial payment, plus the 400 from his employer. So that's a total of $600 weekly. So as you can see, the employee will benefit more through the shared work program than they would regular unemployment or obviously 100% layoff. All right, so let's go through some of the eligibility requirements for the program. So all Connecticut employers whose taxes and reimbursement payments are currently up to date can apply. Any size employer, we have just a minimum of 2 permanent employees participating to qualify. Only applicable for permanent full-time or part-time employees. It cannot be used to subsidize seasonal workers during an off-season. Employees cannot be reduced less than 10% or more than 60% to qualify. And those fringe benefits that I was talking about earlier cannot be eliminated while they're on the program. Also, if an employee is a part of a union, you can still apply. The only issue with that is that you just have to make sure that the union agrees and signs off on your application. And if you look at the application, there's actually a section there for them to just sign off saying that they agree to you using the shared work program, excuse me. And this can also be applied to hourly and salaried employees. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so now how to apply. So you can apply either by phone, you can go to our website, which is sharedworkct.com. You're going to pull up our application, which you can see a picture of it here. It's nothing crazy. It's a 3-page application. A lot of the questions are just yes or no. You're inputting your business information in. And the fastest way to send it to us would be by email at dol.sharedwork@ct.gov, or by fax. You can send that to 860-263-6681. And you also have the option to send it by mail, which the address is on the application when you complete it. And the employers will be notified within 30 days of us receiving the application if it's been approved or denied. All right, so now how to renew your existing shared work plan. So again, you're going to want to make sure that you go to our website, which is the shared work at CT, it's sharedworkct.com. You can pull up the extension request there. It's a 1-page application, nothing crazy. And normally a shared work plan, when you first open it up, it stays open for 26 weeks or 6 months. With an extension, you're able to add an additional 26 weeks to that. So pre-COVID, we were allowing one extension per plan per year, which would mean that your plan would stay good for at least 1 year, inclusive of that extension. Because of COVID, we are now actually allowing up to 3 extensions. So your plan can potentially be open for up to 2 years. And again, that form you can email, fax, or mail it to us for processing. The fastest way, obviously, would be by email or fax. Right. All right, now just to share some of the expansions that we've included with the shared work program due to COVID-19. So like the one I just mentioned was the extensions. We used to allow 1 extension per plan per year. We are now allowing 3 extensions per plan. And shared work is charged just like regular unemployment. So even though that there's less of an impact with shared work, since your employees are only receiving partial payments instead of a full layoff. Now, due to the CARES Act and the federal legislation, we are actually receiving, there's 100% reimbursement to the states for the shared work program until week ending March 13th, 2021. So for reimbursable employers, that covers shared work from April 4th, 2020 through March 13th, 2021. And for the taxable employers, it's for the same period of time, April 4th, 2020 through March 13th, 2021. So during that period, you wouldn't be charged for the shared work program. And also pre-COVID, we used to ask that you provided information about the program to your employees and give them a 7-day period to review it and ask questions if they had any. We now have a form online that you can attach to the application and just have your employees sign off on that they're aware of the program. Really all we want to know is we just want to make sure that the employees are aware that they're going on shared work and what the program is and that they're all set with that. So we have that form on our website, sharedworkct.com, that you can grab and you can use and attach that to your application to make it a little faster. Okay, all right, so now how employees receive payment. We no longer send, paper checks. So it's either a direct deposit or a debit card from KeyBank. If the employees don't set up anything online, it'll automatically default to the debit card from KeyBank. That gets sent normally 7 to 10 business days from when we release a first payment. And to set up a direct deposit, they just have to go to our website, thefilectui.com. They'd have to set up an account, ID and password, and then they can go in and put their banking information in. They can change their method of payment at any time. All right, so now some of the resources that you can find on our website. So our website again is sharedworkct.com. I think the best resource when you have a question to refer to is the Shared Work Frequently Asked Questions. We try to put as much information in there that we can that'll assist you in figuring out what you need to do with the program and some of the information that's in there. So I think that's probably the best resource that you can use when you have a question to refer to. We also have an employer and an employee fact sheet online that you can refer to. And additionally, we have Sherry, our virtual agent, and she's available in English and in Spanish. And she's available 7 days out of the week. So you can always refer to her if you have questions to see if you can get some extra information. And again, our website is sharedworkct.com. All right, so again, thank you for joining us this morning to discuss the shared work program. And now feel free to ask any questions that you have. We'll give a couple minutes here so that you guys can remember to use that chat box that you have at the bottom of the screen. It should be next to the Q&A box, should be next to the chat. And you can submit any questions that you have that we can go over with you. Just give it a minute here so you all have an option to have some time, to enter your questions.
We have a few in the chat here, Ashley.
Okay, so we'll go over that. Just please, if you can just make sure you use that question and answer box that's at the bottom. Go ahead.
The first question is, will this affect having received the PPP loan?
I mean, if you receive the PPP loan, shared work, it's not going to affect it in the way you can still participate in the program. For any weeks you're using the PPP at 100%, you would not be able to utilize the shared work program. So you just wouldn't apply for those weeks. Once the PPP runs out, then you can start using the shared work program again. Was there another question?
Okay, John had a question, but it looks like he's already signed up for shared work. So he asks, when does it expire? So he may want to send that directly through our email, DOL
Yeah,
Shared
you can send
Work.
it to our email. Yep, the DOL shared work at ct.gov. But you should also have received, if you're already on the program, you would have received an approval letter. So in that packet, you'll see it tells you your shared work plan information, the effective date, and the expiration date of your plan. So you can refer to that as well.
Sorry, Ashley. All right, another question is, are business levels change quickly? Can the 30 days processing be expedited?
Unfortunately, we're trying to process them as quickly as we can. So not every application takes 30 days for us to process. As far as expediting, that's not anything that we can really guarantee. Because right now, as you can see, we normally service 230 employers in a year, and we're receiving we now have well over 1,200 in participating. So again, we try to process them as quickly as we get them, but there's no guarantee. I would say if you're thinking about using the program and it's a possibility, you can always submit an application for processing just so that you have it ready if your business needs it. If you don't use shared work program, there no harm, no foul. We don't start setting any of your employees up until you actually start submitting requests for payments for them. So you can always apply as a just in case. And at least that'll give you a little window, hopefully, so that 30-day doesn't interfere with anything.
Great. We have another question. Does my business have to have a downturn in revenue in order to be eligible?
I mean, we don't require any type of proof of a downturn in revenue. I mean, if your business is facing a downturn and you need to reduce the work, then you can apply for the program, as long as you meet the requirements with the two permanent employees participating, reducing 10 to 60%, and have those reimbursements paid.
Great. Next question. So employers receive reimbursement as a tax credit the following year.
I think that might be a joke question. I don't think these are going as credits. I don't believe the employers are being charged for that period of time between, what was it, April and is it May of this? I can't even remember the dates. Sorry.
March.
Thank you. April and March. I don't believe they're receiving any charges for that period. Am I right, Jill?
I think she had to step away for a second, but we can loop back on that.
Yeah, when she comes back, she's our tax expert in the unit. Is there any other questions?
Still waiting for some questions to come in.
All right. We'll give everybody a few minutes here so they can type in. Remember, you have that Q&A option right there at the bottom of your screen to submit any questions that you have.
Jill, a question for you. For the reimbursement, do the employers receive that as tax credit the following year, or they just don't get charged?
Oh, there's no credit. No, they're just not charged because they pay dollar for dollar. They don't pay into the fund. Did you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another question. Will the employees have the option to have FICA, FICA taking out from their work share payment like they do for regular unemployment?
I mean, shared work is based off of regular unemployment, so they have the option of having state and federal taxes taken out. That's taken out if they choose yes, it's taken out 10% federal, 3% for state. The amount that's taken out cannot be adjusted, so it's either a yes or no. So it works the same way as regular unemployment. The only difference between with shared work than regular is how we calculate and distribute the payments. Which I think that's also something I did not mention as a benefit for the employees, is they don't file weekly claims. So you, the employer, submit that information to us weekly, and we process payments for them. So there's no filing or continued filing on the employee side, which is another benefit. They don't have to worry about that.
We'll give a
Maybe.
couple more minutes for some questions to come through.
Yeah, not a problem. Again, just remember, if you have a question, you can just use that Q&A option at the bottom of the screen to submit it. All right, so I see one question here is, once approved, does shared work reach out to the employees directly for information? No. The information is gathered by you, the employer. So we will send you an approval packet with all the information as far as instructions, information about their program, and any forms that need to be filled out. And then you would distribute that to the employees, gather it, and submit it to us. So really the only form that needs to be filled out in the beginning will be the new claim form that you have to have the employees fill out. So you have them fill that out, and then there's a weekly certification is what we call it, which is the form that you submit weekly to us, letting us know what the reduction is weekly so that we can process those payments. So the new claim forms are submitted, it's just once a year for us to set up the claims. So you would kind of set that up, you send that in the beginning to get started. We process everything, and then after that, weekly, it would just be the weekly certification forms. If we need any additional information in regards to any of the employees to process payment or whatever the issue may be, we'd contact you, the employer, to gather that. Any other questions?
I don't see any coming through at this point.
Alrighty. All right, so I think we can move on to the next slide. If you do have any other questions, you can always use that question and answer button at the bottom, and we'll just continue with the next slide here. All right, so again, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate any feedback that you may have. So there is a brief survey at the end of this that'll pop up. If you can please complete that and submit it, we'd appreciate it. And then I think the next slide here will have our contact information. So again, if you have any questions, concerns, you can always contact us by phone at 860-263-6660, by email at dol.sharedwork@ct.gov, which again, you can, if you want, you can always email us after the session, any questions that you have, and we'll respond to you to get you the information you need. And you can please visit our website for any application forms or any other resources in regards to shared work at www.sharedworkct.com. So thanks everybody for participating today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Hope everybody has a
Ashley.
good day.
Thanks, Jill.